All right. Okay. So here, I think we have on our first slide, we really just have a bunch of bullets. We're going to loosely talk about these. We're going to have a conversation about them with our team here at Over It. But we really, again, looking for your, your questions, your comments to make this more of a dialogue. We have a small group here, all with probably, different but similar goals. So we can start with I guess I'll start with the main umbrella topic, guys, for my team here, and then Matt, maybe we can sort of open up the microphones for the attendees and they can talk about it with us. In home services, there is a value and premium on getting information quickly when it's needed. A lot of the services are on demand, needing it now, needing it very soon, and we go on Google, we type it in, and nowadays there's a lot of ways for us to get a phone number, find information at a level sufficient for us to call and ask someone to come out to our house. And if you're not set up there to be seen, and relying on someone to click to go through to your site, you might miss a portion of leads because the consumer is getting less and less interested in taking those steps. They don't need to, because all the information is right there. And these are some of the things in that realm we're going to talk about. So I guess we can start with Matt. I don't know if you have any sort of, in your experience now working with local, like sort of home service clients, what you've seen and that shift away from the traditional search something, click, go to a website, and then take the next step.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely talk to that. And having quite a few years of, digital marketing experience behind me, you and I have talked about this over the last couple of years, that the home services industry is a little more unique in, more often than not, people aren't content with signing up for a newsletter or filling out a form when they have a more pressing, immediate need. They want to make a connection. They want to assess if that's the business they want to work with, and they want to call somebody. If you've got a leaking toilet, you really don't want to fill out a form, and all the other home service genres around the line too. So it's taken a little bit of a shift in our thinking, and we pushed really hard on click to call ads and had some modicon of success there. But then we started discovering Google Local Service, and we're just impressed at how well we were able to deliver high intent leads to our clients via Google Local Services, and it's all calls.
Yep. And then Bree, I guess before we open it up to everyone, in saying that, then there's this extra value and premium on the messaging in some of the ads or some of the ways that get presented on Google, because there is that, premium on, it's right there, CTA, I have to get them there. So I guess maybe you could talk a little about that. And then also, I think the premium on when they do get to your website, the messaging has to be pretty concise and ready for them to go by the time they do get there.
Yeah, so you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Google's initiative is to get people as much information as possible without making them click out of the search results page.
Correct.
They just want to keep you there as long as they can. And so what I like about Google My Business is that there are opportunities to personalize your listing. So it goes beyond just that standard information that people are looking for, which is, phone number, website, but also they're looking at ratings, which are there. And you've probably noticed that Google is prompting you more and more often to rate things if you've been to a business, if you've been in like vicinity of a business. Mm-hmm. So those are things that people are obviously looking for, but there are little things you can add and should add. You should fill out the entirety of your profile for the best results. So there's photo slots. If you're uploading very high resolution photos for a home services team, you might post pictures of your techs. You might post pictures of equipment that you work on. Definitely interactions with customers, anything that stands out or that sets you apart from your competition. That's a really good space for that. There is a description field that's pretty limited by characters, and you should keep that very straightforward about what it is you address. But there's also an opportunity to write announcements. So you can have this separate section that talks about deals that you have going on that day or that sort of period, or other timely information, just to keep yourself kind of updated there. And so your customer knows that your prospect knows that you're active, and they get a sense of your personality and your brand there. Once they do click through, probably when they're ready to step to the next point in the funnel, and they go to your website, you want to make sure that that everything there is directly reflective of what they've seen in your Google My Business listing. That consistency is really important. So it's all about kind of brevity, keep things short, simple, very straightforward to the point, but conversational too. So your brand messaging should be sort of very succinct, tight, and a direct call to action on your website is probably the next thing you want to make sure is clear after you've got your Google My Business listing set up.
It's interesting, like Bray, like I think about people ask me about Google My Business and I try to explain to them, it's like it's your digital storefront, and the more clean it looks, like if someone was to walk into your store and it was cluttered and not organized, it would be a reflection possibly of the business. Same thing for Google. Some Google My Business pages are much cleaner. They look nicer. They look like they are more updated. They have posts. They have things that make me think that this person takes pride in their business and it reflects of their service. So I think just from an aesthetic, the content on there, keeping it fresh and new and clean it could be a reflection of what someone may think of the service they're about to call and acquire. So let me see. I'm going to allow everyone to talk. So if you wouldn't mind just muting until you have a question, or if there's a concern or comment. Again, we really want to encourage conversation. Ask us it doesn't even have to necessarily be related to any of these topics. So I'm going to allow to talk.
So Chris, as you talk about Google My Business too, a lot of people, it used to just be you filled out the information, you got the postcard, and you validated it with Google. But it's gone beyond that, and it's become the de facto yellow pages, right? Nobody picks up a phone book anymore or yellow pages.
Right.
So you're going to show up in search, and you're going to show up on the sidebar. So it's easy to do your brand, right? Like if somebody's searching for you by brand, they're going to get your Google My Business. But what's really good is when certain terms related to your services, you become known as the go-to in that region or area, and you show up. And you'll see that more and more on search. You'll see a business on the sidebar that shows up for a specific search that's not a branded search query.
Right.
So it's become more and more important and not something you set up and walk away from. And you want your agency to make sure that it typically aligns with your business message and your website. And the one thing out of you guys discussing content on there, they don't show a ton of the content. But one of the biggest things, and even some businesses aren't aware of it, you can iterate your services on your Google My Business profile so that you become relevant to show up in those non-branded searches because of your services. And then it comes down to, do you have better reviews than the other three guys in that same geo area that do those services? Or do you bounce less if we put your Google My Business there? All the standard factors that Google has used to rank a business and drive people to them with the comfort that they're solving their query the best they can, which is at the end of the day what Google wants to do.
It seems like there's also this extra authority granted to that listing because people assume, I think it's true that people assume that Google has cultivated that listing, that businesses aren't doing it themselves. And I think that presumption works in your favor because it seems third party, it seems neutral.
Yeah. Well, they definitely, Brianna, just to that, in a certain sense, they did cultivate the believability just in that verified address and the fact that there's no real way to game Google My Business, which they've done a good job with that, right? Because they've left it kind of simple and easy to use, but there's no game.
Right, like you have to get a postcard in the mail to verify. It's like still sort of old school a little bit, right? Yeah. It's a good point. Really. And again, along those, it's your storefront online, like along with that, like if you can, it's city specific. Just like if I go to a town and I want to know what the best deli is, right? Like there's the best deli there, but if I go to another town, if you service two different locations, it's important to have that weight in each one because Google knows if you have a weight in that region and everything else plays into that. Your Google Local Services account will get better weight, all of your other, because if Google finds you, like Brianna is saying, as an authoritative person in that region, on that space, they're going to start to give you some more play, more impression share. Everything is connected to that. So it's all about establishing a local authority and local services, Google My Business, all of these things, anything you can do to do that always will help you because Google wants you to click on their things in the search engine, and anything that helps that will benefit you and your business.
And it means too that once people click through to your site, they're a better lead, right? Because they've already weeded out your competitors, presumably, and so they're more groomed for your being a customer.
At this point, does anyone have any general comment or question? There's no pressure if you don't. You can also type the question in if you're more comfortable. We can continue to talk about some other things. Welcome. I think someone else just joined. Let me see. Everyone has the ability to unmute and speak and ask questions. We're just talking about general offsite, sort of off Google, local optimizations. We were talking about Google My Business for a bit and how it ties to Google local services. We spent a lot of time talking about Google local services, and we've done a more of a focused webinar on this. We wrote it in the trends report. It is a big trend, and the reason why it's a trend is because it really works. It's one of the most effective, both from a cost and lead, pure lead driving mechanism out there for a home service client. If you are a home service in business, then you are not on local services. It should be one of the primary things you're working on before the peak season will peak, at least for the little cooler weather, but into the summer season. Right, Matt? I mean, we've seen it, like cost per lead as low as $29, $30 a lead. You don't have to set up any keywords. It's not rigorous to I mean, there's an art to setting it up, but once it's up, it runs, and then it's just monitoring.
And that's a little ironic in the intent we've seen, Chris, because even when we do our own click-to-call campaigns, we found the quality of the leads on Google Local Services to be slightly better. So for you who just joined us, we're here talking about some of the marketing tips that we feel are great beyond just your website. And it's not to downplay the need for having a succinct, clear website with clear calls to action and easily rankable, landing pages and services and broken out and well explained, and purely the way Google search has changed over the years, very well articulating your expertise to it. But all of these places can get you new leads before your clients even get to your website. And that's kind of why we're focusing on the local services, the Google My Business and your reviews. Even when you consider that, the reviews, and you consider citation listing and directory listings as well as being a value add in either getting you business directly or getting people to your website to then become a client.
I mean, in some home service companies or industries have a little bit of a different setup process. We know pest control is a little easier. HVAC can be a little more cumbersome in terms of background checks and things, but really the return on that time and that investment it will be very clear and obvious to you. So we continue to make that a part of every single home service client we have as part of their strategy. Now, the Google My Business is directly tied to the Google local service performance, and then it all comes back to your reviews, right? And it goes to that storefront concept on your Google My Business, is that when you're looking there, you're looking for a couple things, and you're looking at those stars, and you're looking at the number next to the stars, right? How many reviews, and that number, the bigger that number is, the more you feel good about it, right? And then then the more Google feels good about it, because it seems like, wow, they're getting a lot of reviews. They must be really good at what they do. So we're going to move them up, right? So that becomes the game. And so there are ways to help make you more review friendly. There are tools to help solicit reviews in a way that are gentle and not aggressive. So this is all part of this off-site optimization. Of course, you want to display your reviews on the site. We do that now with a nice aggregator tool. But it's all happening off-site. People are reviewing, they're finding you, they're buying your service, and they're reviewing you without even possibly going to your website. That's what's happening in home service especially. So we've seen reviews, Matt, become a main focus of our clients, rightfully so. It's funny how it shifted. They used to say things, I want this, I really want to focus on this. Now most all of them say, I really want to get my reviews up.
Yeah, I mean, you can't talk SEO without talking reputation management and reviews in the same paragraph. nowadays, for
And
sure.
do we know, Matt, if that's like tied into the SEO algorithm of Google? Do they look at that
Google lists
stuff?
it as a ranking factor. Yeah, your reviews. They say it's a top 10 ranking factor. Typically, as the annual assessment and guesswork about what the algorithm actually does, it always shows as about a top 10 ranking factor of your review profiles.
One thing, Bree, we talk about with the clients about reviews is that, like, what you say, how you respond to them, your messaging back to reviews is really important. If someone leaves you a really nice review, it's important to say something. If someone leaves you a negative review, it's important to that. So maybe can you talk about that, like how a messaging in there makes you look more professional, how it would impact it?
Yeah, Google recommends responding to every single review that you get, negative or positive. So thank yous to positive reviews, and sort of mitigation-driven responses to negative reviews is just a really intuitive way to demonstrate that you have wonderful or exceptional customer service, so they can see very clearly how you might respond to them if they have a problem. It's just best practice now to be really human and available and kind of, I guess, kind in your responses to all reviews.
Yeah, it's your first. It's sometimes the first interaction somebody sees of you, so you want to be kind, you want to be understanding. If somebody actually leaves a bad review, you don't want to debate the merit of that bad review. You want to say, sorry, you had a bad experience. Engage with them, pull them in. Be rational, be reasonable. And in a bad review situation, the best thing you can do is say, please contact me directly, and we can discuss this and see if we can come to a resolution for you. So it's become a big thing in learning how to speak in that voice. And Brianna, to the note of responding to all of them, I've found if you have a busy review profile, and I've seen this in home services and in the food service industry, any of that if you have a ton to review any that have texts versus ones that are just stars, because some people just so quick just come in and hit you with 3 or 4 stars and don't say anything, and I think that's the one you can get away with. But to what you're saying, your responses demonstrate to these platforms, and even if it's about Yelp or something else, even on Facebook, you responding demonstrates a certain level of engagement. And we know Google has always put engagement into their algorithm and their rankings. So, 2 pest control services in the same metro area, one guy's responded to his reviews and he's got 250, the other guy's got 600, but he's never responded once. You might see just in organic search that guy with the 250 is now ranking higher because they're aware of the timeliness and the responsiveness of that business owner. And they're saying, we want happy customers. We want to solve their problems. This is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also tell a lot of our clients, there's also a value to have a negative review sprinkled in there, right? If you have all 5-star reviews, 300 5-star reviews, that might look a little funny or looks maybe a little gamified. But if you have a couple people that are not satisfied and you respond to them and have a very professional response, it almost humanizes the brand a little bit. And just, I think it does help. And I don't know if I've read this somewhere, but there's some psychology behind that, right? No one's perfect. And sometimes when it's perfect, it looks too perfect. So we don't have to stress about a 4.9 rating on Google or a 4.85. I mean, that's perfectly fine. I think it's most important that you're responding and being interactive.
Right. You don't want to have a 1.5. Sorry, Brianna, I know you wanted to say something. You don't want to have a 1.5 review profile out of 5, but
right, correct.
Nothing wrong with having some negative reviews, in there. And there's different review tools that can help you try to avoid bad reviews, but overall you want to have some. And people are aware of when reviews get played. I think most people are pretty aware that Amazon reviews aren't really reputable, like, hey, fill out a review and we'll give you 10% off on your next purchase. Well, that might be based on whether or not it's a good review. So the online services that we rely on, Google's reviews, Facebook's reviews, Yelp's reviews, which may even be changing their status, they all don't allow you to gamify them, and they don't want you to incentivize them. They want them to be legit customer concerns.
Matt, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was exactly what I was going to ask. With Google's more aggressive prompts to rate any business interaction that it detects you may have had because of your location or because of your browsing history or whatever, has that changed the nature or the quality of the reviews coming through? Because it used to be that most reviews are coming through because someone either had an exceptional experience or a terrible one. So now it seems more likely that people are having, maybe mediocre or good, not great interactions with businesses, but actually rating them because Google is prompting them. So is that changing how, like, the credibility of those reviews, or is it changing have we seen a volume increase in our clients' reviews?
I think you do see a little bit of a volume increase. I think the believability and the quality is still there. I think they put measures in place so that you can't gamify them. I mean, I know that Google and Yelp both are capable of deploying a negative review action on you. Say you are a business that's open for 3 years and you have 30 reviews, and in a 5-month period, all of a sudden you have 500. They're probably going to do a negative review action. And what that entails is actually hiding your reviews from the public internet. So your profile reviews don't show up. The only change I've really seen, Brianna, is more volume. So I don't believe by requesting them and asking for them, it's hurting. But
so it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. But to your point, Amazon definitely got carried away with them and turned them into garbage, and most people realize that they don't mean anything. So I guess that's always a fear, and there are measures in place, and we know of review tools out there. Like you said, it'll try to divert a bad reviewer into, let's say, contacting the business or something, which is fine. But if you never get another 1 or 2 star or 3 star review, people might start saying this doesn't seem believable, And one last comment I wanted to make on that, Chris, I apologize, is I've talked to business owners when they've gotten a bad review, and they're like, do you read this? That guy's really slamming me. You can tell they're angry. And they want to respond like in kind to that. And I'm like, think about it. You respond impartially and sorry you feel that way. You flip the script. You make that guy look like the bad guy. So again, you're further lending to the believability of your business and what you're trying to accomplish. So for me, it's all positive right now, Brianna. I don't think there's anything bad in that space, and hopefully it continues to go that way, because what better way to sell your business than word of mouth? And this is the tool of word of mouth for the web.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's customer service. It's digital customer service. Again, it's like your online storefront. Like when we go on your reviews, we can actively see how your customer service is. If you're responding and you're professional and you're prompt and you're apologetic, or maybe not apologetic, but you offer your take on what happened in a way that's professional from a negative review, it shows your level and demonstrates your level of customer service and willingness to address problems. And that matters, for especially in a situation where I haven't met you yet. Maybe I haven't ever even talked to you, but I'm just writing to you online. The other thing, the point about reviews and the making it easier to review, I agree that the volume has definitely gone up, and I think there are now ways to solicit these reviews more. But the thing about especially Google, you cannot block anyone from going onto Google and leaving you a review. If they go directly into Google and they click 1 star, we can't prevent that from happening without doing something that's really, really crazy that I don't know. There are tools where we can try to get people to click here to then review us on Google. And if they click a 1 star, it'll send it to us as a form. But we haven't blocked them from doing it on Google itself. So there are alternative ways, but Google still maintains some sort of control over, how it can be gamed directly in the medium. And we're spending a lot of time talking about reviews because it all really comes back to those reviews. Google Local Services changed it a little bit recently by having a bid structure in place, where it used to just be that you pay a fixed rate for pest control, a fixed lead rate for HVAC, a fixed rate for another home service industry. And so it was completely really dependent on your review status. So if someone had 1,000 reviews in the town, it'd be hard to outcompete them, right? If that's the algorithm. So what they've done now is give you the ability to bid. So I might only have 30 reviews, but I'm willing to pay $45 a lead. And the person with 400 reviews is only willing to pay 30. So I might get an impression share to try to, bump that up. So that's a new game in Google Local Services. We've been doing that for our clients, and we haven't really seen a drastic increase in cost per lead when we let Google maximize our leads. So, you know, so they're trying to reviews are still incredibly important, but on local service, it's not the only defining factor now to get you to do that.
No, but this is an interesting point that we can help to demonstrate our expertise for our attendees and listeners, in that some of the things we've tried different things in Google Local Services, and we've, you know, launched a new location. Let's say a client has 3 locations, and they bring on a 4th in Google Local Services, and that 4th is a new brick and mortar location, doesn't have much of a review profile yet. What we've done through trialing within Google Local Services is found that we're better off getting high quality leads by expanding the service area of one of the other locations that has the reviews and the profile that works, than to push really hard in local services on the underdeveloped review profile on there. So again, one more spot where we found it to be interesting, and that Google Local Services can be managed in a way to be most effective to drive leads to all of your service areas.
I also kind of want to go back to this idea of the function of a website in a time when Google is incentivizing putting more information off of your website. So again, they don't want you to click through to websites. They want you to stay in the search results. And that's just going to continue to be the case. So then you have to sort of reevaluate what your website is doing. And I think it's a kind of exciting opportunity to make that a more nurturing place, because the people arriving there now are less likely to be looking for your phone number. They're looking for more information about you. So it's a good opportunity to show them, you know, white papers, case studies, blog posts, videos, infographics, all of that really good content that lets them know that you are an expert and that you're there to take care of them. And so when they arrive at your site, they're qualified, they're ready to be looking at that stuff. So that's kind of an exciting shift in the function of a website, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with
that.
100%. And now to beat reviews over the head one last time, we can put them down, is everything you mentioned about the website. Also, Brianna, now we like to make sure that business's reviews are also prominent on their website, not just in search and the other places you find them. You know what I mean? And you know, we have some great tools to make that happen for our clients and put them front and center too.
Right. You see the review. Can you guys hear me okay? My headphones are acting up. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
You see the reviews off site. Then when you get to site, we have the reviews again for you to look at. They're right there for everybody to see. The other thing we don't have on here that is also part of off-site, your off-site Google ads, and you know, your traditional Google Google AdWords ads, paid per click ads. Those are still off-site, not on your site, another area on Google to see your brand. So in theory, we could see you 4 different times: Google Local Service on top, Google My Business on the side, organic search result on the bottom below, and a Google ad right below. So there are 4 opportunities for people to see you on the same exact search, right? So someone types in pest control near me, HVAC near me, looking for, whatever they're looking at, you have 4 opportunities to show up. And if you can show up on all 4 on the same search, I mean, you'll win a lot more times than you won't, right? Because it'll be very difficult for them to, and that means something too, because now you're everywhere, right? You're over here, you're up here, you're over here, and you have this little green Google guaranteed check. All of these things are great. I'm going to call. So it's really cornering everything and just making yourself look like, wow, these people are really strong.
Chris, I like it. You just coined our new strategy: search page ubiquity.
That's right. That's what it is. If you can be seen, be seen. And you don't even have to, it's not, go ahead, Brie, go ahead.
No, I was just going to do a time check. I don't know how much time we have. I don't know if any of our attendees want to ask a question, if we keep asking too much about asking questions. No pressure.
I would like to know if any of our attendees are currently not on Google Local Services.
Let's see if we're going to get any takers, any non-muters.
You could just raise your hand as an indicator and say you are or aren't.
I'll talk. This is David Aldis. We just got on Google Local Services in the last week.
Great.
So yeah, we're new to it. And one of my questions was, I struggled to understand the difference between Google My Business and local services. And I think I do a little better now, but my question was, how do you determine a budget? I don't really know what an appropriate.
So David, can I ask you this? Are you also in pay-per-click? Are you doing search
Yes.
advertising to your business as well? So you know, of course it's based on the capital you have at hand, but if you need to find the budget, you can reduce your pay-per-click budget a little bit. You want to be, you get every lead you could to service every client you're capable of, but that's a larger process of both, you know, sales enablement and capacity that you could solve those questions with. You know,
Right.
My advice to you is to start with a reasonable amount that you can afford and can maintain month after month, the inbound leads and the value of them versus your pay-per-click, and balancing the budget between the two. You know, to those notes, you know, when we first started using it in multiple scenarios, we went small, and almost everybody that we've gone small, we've since increased their monthly spends on Google Local Services due to both the quality of the leads and the quantity at the right price.
So do you recommend, I mean, it sounds like this is what the case is. Are you guys seeing a shift from spending on pay-per-click to Google Local Services? So you would outspend on Google Local Services versus pay-per-click?
Matt, can I answer that just for a sec?
You know, I don't know about outspend. Sure, Chris, go ahead.
Maybe not. Chris, I think you're having headphones.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'll be back. Go ahead, Matt.
And other platforms, particularly, you know, you've got a lot of different areas to cover when it talks about your paid advertising, from brand, from, you know, interest or targeted display and search and targeting. So I think you're going to have the majority in that space, but you want to reach a happy balance. And, you know, where we found is we were running click to call campaign, we were converting on Google Local Services at a lower price point.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, David. Thanks for contributing. And it is a little confusing between Google My Business and Google Local Services. We find it when we're trying to onboard clients. They're like, I thought I just gave you that, or we're talking about this or that. They're kind of two distinct things. Think of your Google My Business as your, you know, digital yellow pages, digital business placeholder, and Google Local Services campaign to your business with their Google guarantee. And we haven't really mentioned that when you go through the process, and David, you just walked through this, you are signing up and providing enough information, including security background check, that Google's willing to guarantee you as a home service by putting you up there, meaning somebody have happy customers' money. So Google's taking a decent amount of risk by letting you get in there and demonstrating how reliable of a business in that community you are. So it's an important note to take of it. So anybody else have a comment or question? You know, David was nice enough to share.
One of our HVAC companies, they had to have all of their tax verified, right?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about the verification, it's driven by the state's laws on business as to whether it's the business owner, you know, and the people that work in the back office, the techs that visit your home. It's a state by state background check policy that Google has to comply with. And they've done a decent job of managing that. But on top of that, Brianna, you're providing license and your insurance documents, and those are reviewed for validity and it's significant, but it takes a little while. And their process, I hate to pick on them, and for a software company, they've launched better products, sort of a software approach, but they're getting better and better. But when it first launched, their background screening was months to get somebody launched on Google Local Services due to the complexity of the background checks and the information gathering. That's been further streamlined. I hope, David, you didn't have any horrible experience, but I imagine it took you 2-3 weeks to get everything together anyway.
It was pretty easy. Actually, it was shorter than 2-3 weeks.
Great.
So, and they didn't request that my technicians have to go through the background. I was expecting by that, just required me to go through a background check.
What state are you in, David, if you don't mind me asking?
Virginia.
Okay, yep. Yeah, we found that a lot of the southern states are a little easier versus we're in New York ourselves, and some of our New York clients have had difficult background checks. But that is.
Even if it's hard, though, we recommend going through it because of what the authoritative heft behind what Google can. I guess we can wrap up.
Comment on, and some of this, we've talked about how important phone calls are in the home services industry. That, you know, if you've got a leaking toilet, you're less likely going to fill out a form and hope for an email back about getting somebody out to see you. So along those lines, we've also found that we've refined our social media advertising techniques. We've found for home services, it was difficult lead gen to really figure that we're much better off going for retargeting out of your social media platforms. Let's talk Facebook explicitly here. There's something very interesting about the way Facebook builds an audience for retargeting, and it's different than AdWords. So I'll get a little technical on you guys right now. In AdWords, for us to retarget a visitor that's coming to you through an ad, whether it's a search or a display ad on AdWords, they have to click the ad, they go to the website, and then that person is actually added as an audience participant that you can then show retargeting ads for. And we all know how that works, right? When you search out that dream car and you're seeing ads for it for the next 8 weeks, teasing you to death. I've stopped looking at Ferraris. I'm never going to own one. It just teases me. But so the beauty of the social media aspect of that, how you get to the website. So, or you get to that Facebook page. So let's say there's a boosted post about wildlife removal in North Carolina, and you just liked the post. You clicked on it and you went about space remediation. You are now eligible on Facebook to be retargeted those ads. So what we found in social media paid ads and just throwing ads in front of people, but we're very happy to put ads in front of people that have already become familiar with your business. And we're now seeing a much better conversion rate on social media in those retargeting setups. So some food for thought for you guys to make sure that you are kind of doing it that way, and just not large portions of the budget trying to get traffic from social media that's going to be a low intent traffic that isn't ready to convert.
Great.
I'm sorry if you guys can't hear me or not. I don't know if I'm here, but
I can hear
Chris,
you.
we can hear you now.
I was just about to let everybody know that you were having technical difficulties.
yeah, sorry. I don't know what's going on. I'm in and out, but I'm listening.
Okay. Yeah, Chris, I just brought up and covered a little bit about how we've been found over time that social media, and particularly Facebook, that retargeting is much better for lead gen than just, strong push advertising by interest or other means of driving people as traffic to your website from social media. So I covered a little bit about that, and again, where we're trying to go. And I have one little tidbit of knowledge coming down the pipe here. Facebook is about to introduce call advertising. And I think this is something that's going to be big for home services as well, for the same things we're just saying. You know, you got a broken toilet, you're not interested in submitting an email and hoping somebody gets back to you. So that's something to look out for on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do any of our attendees have any concerns or questions that we can address for you while you have our expertise here?
All right.
Okay.
Well, we're at overit.com. If you have any questions or want to come back and talk through some stuff, we're here. We're available.
They'll get an email with the recording, and you can respond to that email
great.
if you want. If you want further help with any of this information, we're happy to take a look at what you have going and help you any way we can. Just let us know.
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds great. Our services is really good, and just another aspect that you can go after and work more with the clients that you currently have. I think that's all I got.
True.
That was a shameless plug, wasn't it?
True.
Yep.
We're also humble.
All right. Well, guys, we thank you so much for attending. Any questions or concerns, please reach out and email us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Man, I can't believe that. I don't know what is going on.
We can hear you now. Did it just cut out on you, Chris, or what?
Yeah, it was just, I couldn't hear you guys. It was like pixelating. It was, all right, let me stop recording.
Yeah. There's nobody else here, Katie and us, so.